Yes, hi there. These comments are for DK. I'm just using the initials of your name, and you contacted me via Facebook. I think that you are a friend of Yejit's, and he sent me your contact information, and you just made a question about conjunctions, right? Okay, so let's talk about this for just a minute. So your question is, I think, conjunctions and how to use them. And first of all, conjunctions are specific words that help us connect different ideas together. So there's probably, I'm going to say, at least 3 types of conjunctions. Let's identify them right now. And I'll give you some examples. So we have coordinating conjunctions. We have what's called subordinating conjunctions. And we have transition words. And then we have prepositions. I'm going to try to give you these 4 different examples because a lot of students understand that certain types of words are connectives. They serve to connect different parts of a sentence together, but they're not always sure how to use the words grammatically. Alright, so let's take a word like, let's say we want to use cause-effect, right? So as you become more aware of the grammar of the English language, you'll become more aware of these kinds of words. And keep in mind, everything I'm telling you right now, I have more instruction in my online TOEFL course in the grammar section of the course to help you learn how to use these, because if you learn how to use these different types of connectives, it'll be easier for you to connect different things together, and you can demonstrate that you're using a combination of basic and complex type grammar in both your speaking and your writing, and that's good. That can really help your TOEFL score. Okay, let's take a look at the word so. That's cause-effect, right? Now the next thing is we can identify it as because as a subordinating conjunction. As a transition word, we might use a word like therefore, and as a preposition, we could use the word due to. Now going back to the first one, let me label all these to make it a little more organized for you. I'm now going to create 3 different kinds of sentences that will explain how to use each of them. Remember that in all 4 cases we're dealing with cause-effect. So we might say, so in this case, we have the weather was cold and rainy, so we did not go swimming. Now, as you can see, we have the coordinating conjunction in the middle. Just kind of make that brown. And then we have our independent clause on both sides of the sentence. Let's make these red so you can understand that. So that's the first independent clause, and the second one is this one. Now the thing that you want to really be careful about here is when you're using a coordinating conjunction, other examples maybe are and, but, for, yet. These are all called coordinating conjunctions. It joins 2 ideas of equal importance. So we'll say that these independent clauses, they represent main ideas. So we'll say main idea, and then we will say main idea here. That's the relationship that we have. Now, if we go to the next one, we have, because the weather was cold and rainy, we did not go swimming. So in this case, we no longer have a main idea. We do have what's called a support idea or subordinating type idea here. We'll make the connector or the subordinating conjunction in red, and then we have the supporting idea here. Actually, let's make this brown so it's consistent with what we did before. So we have the weather was cold and rainy. This is maybe what we call a support idea. And then the main part of the sentence here is we did not go swimming. Let's make that red. That's the main idea. So even though the meaning is pretty similar, I think, in these first two examples with so and because, the relationship, I think, between the ideas are not exactly the same, because in the second example we have a support idea because the weather was cold and rainy, and then we have a main idea, we did not go swimming. Okay, now let's take a look at using the word therefore. Okay, so we may say we express the cause in the first sentence. The weather was cold and rainy. Now this is tricky. You got two choices here. I'll show you the two possibilities of doing this. Here, we could say the weather was cold and rainy, period, therefore we did not go swimming. Now sometimes students will do this. They'll change it to a semicolon, then they put therefore, comma. That's also correct. However, you can't put the comma after rainy. That ends up being what's called a comma splice, because you can't join two independent clauses with a comma, right? We can do it in the first one because we have that coordinating conjunction there, but the transition word therefore can't be used to join two separate sentences into one sentence. It just doesn't work that way. So in this case, let's go back to the period, but remember, a period or a semicolon will work here. Now in this case, we have our first main idea. Actually, let me go back to this too. We'll say this is a support idea, so you can see that. We have the next part of this sentence is a main idea, so we can see that. Now in this case, the weather was cold and rainy. We will call this a main idea. Then we have therefore we did not go swimming. This is also a main idea. So the purpose of therefore, like other transition words, I could have used consequently here as a result. I could have used thus. I could have used hence. All these are cause effect type transition words, and they all introduce main ideas. So in this case, we have our first main idea in this sentence, which is the weather was cold and rainy. Our second idea here is we did not go swimming. That is another main idea. And that's how that works. Therefore is what's called your transition word. Let's make it brown. Okay, so let's go to the last one. We have prepositions. You might say due to cold and rainy weather, we did not go swimming. Now in this case we'll make due to brown as a type of connector. Then we have here cold and rainy weather. This is, again, you have the cause. You're expressing the cause in every sentence, right? But the cause could be a main idea or a support idea depending on how you use it. So we'll call this a support idea. We'll make it blue, and that makes it similar to what you see in number 2. And then the main idea here, let's take this, put support idea. Then the main idea here, we did not go swimming. We'll take this main idea. Okay, so let's compare them one more time. So to help answer your question was conjunctions and using conjunctions. And think of it this way, conjunctions are very effective in helping you communicate. In this case, we're trying to show the reader or the listener, depending on if we're writing or if we're speaking, we're trying to show what the relationship is between the cause and the effect. So in every case, we're expressing cause-effect relationship. So number 1, we have the weather was cold and rainy, so we did not go swimming. So why did we not go swimming? Cold and rainy weather, right? That's the relationship there. In this case, we have 2 main ideas. We consider both ideas equal in importance. Number 2, we have a subordinating conjunction, for example, because. We have here, because the weather was cold and rainy, that's a support idea. We did not go swimming. That is the main idea, so I think there's a difference between 1 and 2. 1, you're emphasizing both points of your sentence. In example 2, you're emphasizing only we did not go swimming, and because the weather is cold and rainy becomes a support idea. Right? Number 3, transition words. Therefore, the weather was cold and rainy, therefore we did not go swimming. So we looked at different types of punctuation we could use. I also said it's possible to use a semicolon here, and when using transition words, you're connecting main ideas together. And then finally, we have number 4, prepositions. We have due to in this case. So due to cold and rainy weather, we did not go swimming. So in this case, we have the cause, which is a support idea, cold and rainy weather. We have the main part of the sentence, we did not go swimming. In this case, 4 is different from the other 3 because you have due to cold and rainy weather. This is not a clause, but it is simply a phrase. You're simply using a preposition to introduce a noun phrase. That's all you're doing there. Alright, so anyway, that's pretty much it. That explains how to use the 4 different kinds of conjunctions that we have in the English language. Technically, if you really want to talk conjunctions, 1 and 2 are called conjunctions, and the rest of them have more specific words like transition words or prepositions, right? But anyway, that's how you use it. Now, the main thing for you now is, remember what I said earlier, is in my online TOEFL course, in the grammar section of my course, I do have a video that will go over using different kinds of connectives as a way of varying your sentence style, which is important in both the writing and the speaking sections of the TOEFL IBT exam. So if you want to demonstrate that you have good knowledge, good sentence structure, being able to use conjunctions and connectives, I think, is a very important aspect of your academic English language proficiency. All right, thank you very much, and I hope to have you as one of my students, and thank you for your question.